Hello everyone. Today I am discussing about end-to-end error handling. Today I will tell about how to handle errors and exceptions. Today I will discuss about error response, error code enum, global exception handler, and the PayPal provider exception. First I will discuss about error response. This is a simple POJO used to return error details in a consistent and structured format when something goes wrong in our PayPal integration service. Every time an exception is caught, where it's a PayPal provider exception or a generic one, we return an instance of error response to the client. Here we used @data annotation. This is from Lombok, and it is used to generate getters for all fields and useful to string method and hash. It is used to generate getters and setters equals method to string method hash code method automatically. We no need to generate or we no need to write manually. So here we used @data annotation. Let me write it. It is used to generate and hash code automatically. @data annotation. By using this, we can keep our class short and readable. We don't have to manually add getters or setters. Here we created error response class. This is a simple public class that represents the error response sent back to the user when an exception occurs. Here we created some fields. First one is private string error code and private string error message. These two fields define the structure of the error JSON. Error code. What is error code? A short string like PayPal error or generic error. It helps developers identify the type of error quickly. And error message. A more descriptive message like PayPal service is currently unavailable. That helps user or front-end developers understand what went wrong. These two fields are written in the API response body to help front-end developers and users understand what went wrong. Next, here we created one constructor, error response constructor. This is a parameterized constructor that takes two arguments. One is error code, another one is error message. We use this constructor in our exception handler to create a new instance. It immediately populates the object and Spring Boot automatically converts it into a JSON response. This makes it easy to respond with meaningful, readable error messages. Overall, this class is a simple but it plays a very important role in our application's reliability. It makes sure every error is returned to the client in a consistent format. It is clean, reusable, and follows best practices in modern Spring Boot projects. Next, we discuss about error code enum. This class plays a key role in centralizing our application error codes and messages in one place. It helps us maintain clean, consistent, and easy to track error handling throughout the backend. This class is part of the constants package. We use this package to store all constant values like static text, keys, and enums to keep them separate from business logic. Here we used @getter. First, what is enum? Before that, we discuss @getter. It is an annotation. It automatically generates getter methods for each field in the enum. Let me write it. It automatically generates getter methods for each field in the enum. So we don't need to manually write methods like get code method or get message method. Next, we discuss about what is enum. Enum is a short for enumeration and it allows us to define a set of constant values under one type. Let me write it. First, what is enum? It is a short form for enumeration. It allows us to define a set of constant values under one type. In our case, each constant here represents a specific type of error in the application. Why we use enums for errors? Enums prevent hard-coded strings spread across the code base. It is easy to maintain, like adding, removing, or modifying errors in one file. Each error includes a unique code and a message. Here we have some enum values. Let me explain it. These are different types of errors we have defined in the system. Let me tell you few of them. First, generic error. A fallback when something unexpected goes wrong. Next one is temp 1 or 2 or 3. These are used for testing or placeholder errors. Next one is name underscore null. It is a validation error for user input. Next one is unable to connect PayPal. It is used when PayPal is down or unresponsive. Next one is PayPal error. It is used when PayPal returns a valid error and we need to display it dynamically. Each value here is made up of two things. A short and unique string like 4005. User-friendly message that can be shown to the front end or logged. Here we used some fields. These are private final string code and private final string message. These are two fields every enum value holds. Code is like a short unit identifier for the error. And message is the description that tells the user what went wrong. Here we used one constructor, that is error code in a constructor. It accepts string code and string message. This is a private constructor for the enum called for each value defined above. This constructor is used behind the scenes to assign like this dot code equals to 4000, this dot message equals to unable to process your request. This ensures every enum constant is fully initialized with code and message. This enum ensures we don't repeat error strings and it makes refactoring easier. And overall, this class is a smart way to manage all error codes in one place. It reduces duplication, improves readability, and makes debugging easier. Using enums for error handling is a clean coding best practice in Java and Spring Boot applications. Next, let me explain about global exception handler. It is a critical component for handling all exceptions across our Spring Boot application. When something goes wrong in our controller or any service like PayPal errors or system crashes, this class catches the exceptions and logs it, means print it, and returns a clean standardized JSON error response to the client. This class is a part of the exception package, which contains all custom error handling logic for app application. See here, it contains global exception handler and paper provider exception. Here we used some annotations like @controller advice, @SLF4J. First we discuss about @controller advice. Let me write it. @controller advice. It is a class level annotation. This annotation makes the class a global exception handler. It makes class as global exception handler. It automatically applies to all controllers in the application. So you don't need to write try catch in every controller class. It's like a central place to catch and manage exceptions. Next annotation that we used is @SLF4J. It's present in Lombok. It injects a log variable, allowing us to log error message and stack trace without writing any boilerplate. It is used to print the data by using log.info method. Next, here we used @exception handler. And we created method handle PayPal exception. This method handles our custom PayPal exception thrown when PayPal errors occur in service or helper classes. Let me break down step by step. Here we used getMessage method. It creates a response object that the front end will receive. This error response includes a shorter error code like PayPal error, a human readable message like PayPal returned 500 internal server error. Here we returned response entity. It sends back a proper HTTP response with body and status. This makes sure our clients receive consistent error structures when even when PayPal fails. Next is generic exception. This method catches all other unexpected errors like null pointer exceptions, runtime exceptions, and bugs in the code. Here we used error code num dot generic error dot get code method and dot get message methods. This creates a fallback error response using a generic code like generic error and a default message. Here we used log.error method. This logs the error with the full stack trace, even if it's a runtime failure. And finally, global exception handler makes our application robust and predictable by centralizing error handlings. It helps us by avoiding code repetition in every controller and provide clean and consistent JSON error responses. It prints full error details for debugging. This class handles both business exceptions like PayPal provider exception and unexpected failures using exception handler. This is a best practice in real-world Spring Boot projects, especially when working with external APIs like PayPal. Next we discuss about PayPal provider exception. It is one of the most important custom exceptions in our PayPal integration project. This class is used when something goes wrong in communication with PayPal, such as like network issues, invalid PayPal responses, timeouts, or HTTP errors. Instead of using generic exceptions, we created this custom class to give us better control over error codes, messages, and HTTP responses. Here we used @getter annotation and @toString annotation. I already explained about @getter annotation. It is used to generate getters for fields, whatever we used. Next one is @toString annotation. This generates a help toString method that prints all the field values of the class. It is very useful when logging exceptions. When we create custom exception, It extends runtime exception. We are extending Java's built-in runtime exception, which means it is an unchecked exception. We don't need to declare it in method signatures with throws. It can be thrown and caught anywhere in our code. Here we used serial version UID. This is a unique identifier used during serialization. While it's not critical here, it is a good practice to include it, especially if this object is transmitted over a network or stored. Here we used some fields, that is private string, error code, error message, and HTTP status. Here error code, it is a short key to identify the error, like PayPal timeout. Next, error message. It is a friendly description of what went wrong. Next is HTTP status. Status code that could be sent back to the client. Example 400, 500, like this. These fields allows us to pass specific information to the front end in a consistent way. Here we used constructor. This is the only constructor in the class. Here we used super. This passes the error message to the base class. Runtime exception. So Java can print the message when this exception is thrown. For example, if I do throw new PayPal provider exception method and we print the exception, then we will see this message like we are setting we will see some message. Here we are assigning some fields. We are setting our custom fields, error code for backend tracking or logging, error message for showing to the user or logging, HTTP status to decide what status code should be returned in the API response, like 400 or 503, somewhat like this. Where it is used. This exception is used in many places like HTTP service engine, capture order helper, global exception handler. In HTTP service engine we used when HTTP call to PayPal fails. In capture order helper we used when we get an invalid response from PayPal, and also we used in get order helper. In global exception handler we used it is to catch this exception and send a proper error response. And finally, PayPal provider exception helps us to standardize error handling for anything related to PayPal. It lets us carry three things: code, message, and HTTP status. It integrates smoothly with our global exception handler. It gives clean, consistent error response to front-end clients. This is a best practice in microservice-based production-ready APIs. So today I discussed about end-to-end error handling. Thank you.